Hey you guys, I'm Bets Golden. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to talk about all the gesso. There's basically three kinds of gesso on the market. You have your black gesso, you have your white gesso, and you have your clear gesso. And you can use them on pretty much any substrate. That's the one thing they do have in common. However, there are a couple of things that set them apart and make them different depending on what you want to get out of your art. Now, these are the gessos that I have in my stash right now, and I have to tell you that my very favorite brand of gesso is definitely the Dina Wakley. And I only have her black, which shocked me because usually I have her white with me as well. I also like the Affinibear clear gesso, and their gesso line is nice too. Studio 71, honestly, I could take it or leave it, but this is the only white gesso I had, and it'll do the job for today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, and we're going to create a couple substrates with each of these gessos so you can see the difference. But before I do that, let me just give you a brief synopsis of what you can use each of these for. Let's start off with the clear. The clear gesso is a wonderful product for Bible art journaling or for doing things in a dictionary. What it does is it primes the surface, meaning it leaves a little bit of a gritty texture on your surface so it will accept paint well. And then you also can see through it. So that's why it works beautifully in the Bible, because a lot of times people don't want to hide the scripture. They want to be able to see through it. So they go ahead and they prime their surface of the Bible page, and then they do their art on top of it. What also makes it wonderful is it doesn't allow things to seep through. So as you know, Bible pages or encyclopedia pages or some of those old distressed vintage books, you paint on it and it seeps right through the other side. Clear gesso will seal that in and it will not allow your medium to seep through. So for this, I'm actually going to take this tag from Prima, and it is a cover tag, and I'm going to just gesso some of it. Now, this tag actually is not a real great surface to create on because it's so slick and so smooth. So it really does need gesso just so it can hold some paint. But I also want to show that as it dries, it will you'll be able to still see that beautiful like covered through it, which is awesome. I like to put my gesso on with a spatula. However, you could easily layer it on with a brush or a sponge tip applicator. But when you do that, you're going to want to clean your sponge tip applicator or brush right away, because it will dry and it is permanent and it will ruin it. So for this particular project, I'm going to leave the bottom and the top ungessoed just so you can see how the paint reacts on a non-gessoed surface and then also on the gessoed surface. But as you can tell, it goes on and it will dry clear. So we're going to set this aside. I'm going to use the same spatula. Like I said, I like to use a spatula for these things just because it does allow for quick and easy cleanup and I don't ruin anything. All right, so this is going to be our clear gesso. Now, white gesso is kind of like the universal, everybody's got to have it type gesso, right? This is a wonderful, wonderful gesso. It does all the same thing that a clear gesso does. All these gessos prime your surfaces basically for your paint and for your art medium. They all prime it. They all protect the underlayer so nothing will seep through. There's like a grit to it that allows that ink to really attach nicely to it and not slide off or seep through. White gesso is really great to work on any kind of canvas that you have white and you want to keep it. This works on that. It also is great to layer down when you want your colors to be vibrant. So it has a white undertone to it. So we're going to go ahead and take a manila tag, and again, I'm just going to gesso some of this so we can see how the paint interacts on the non-gessoed portion, and you'll be able to see how the color difference in when we layer paint down on it. Okay, if that makes any sense. So that's going to set aside to dry, and it is going to dry white because it's white. All right, so the next one, which actually is kind of my favorite because it's really a lot of fun, is the black gesso. Black gesso is wonderful if you want to create some drama and you want your colors to really pop. This stuff is fantastic. And the Dina Wakley's actually dries, all gesso dries fairly quickly. Dina Wakley's dries really fast, and it has almost like a chalky finish. So again, I'm just going to use this black, this manila tag on this. And this is older gesso, as you can tell, because it's kind of thick. So it would be a little bit, there is some body and texture to her gesso, which I really appreciate. But this one, and this is going to be just fine with what we're doing, but I definitely need to get a new one. All right, so I'm just going to layer that down like so. So black gesso is really great to use on black substrates, or on substrates that you want your colors to just really pop and have a vibrancy to them. The undertone of black is going to be different than the undertone of white. So what I do on all three of these cards, I'm going to use the same color on all three of these cards, and you're really going to get to see how they interact. Now, if you're in doubt and you're like, well, I don't know which one I want, always go to the clear gesso, because clear, I feel, my personal opinion, is it's a universal gesso. It can be used on a light substrate. It can be used on a dark substrate. It can be used, on your Bible art journal, and it's fine. It preps the surface just like a white, just like a black, only it's clear, and it will dry clear. All right, we're gonna let these dry. Then we're gonna come back and we're gonna lay some paint on, and you can just see the difference in how these all work. These all have dried. The black is a really pretty, it's almost not chalk finish, but really nice texture. Then this is the clear. As you can see right through it. You can see a little bit of that gesso in spots that I had added more. And then this is the white. So something that I didn't mention previously that I want to let you know, another benefit to gesso is when you do this on your substrate, it allows your medium that you're putting on the gesso to not need as much. So a little goes a long way. Now for this next step, I'm going to be using the same color on all three of these just so you can see what the gesso looks like and how it interacts with these different substrates. And this one, if you remember, is it has like a slick surface. And so I gessoed it, and not only did it allow this fun pattern to show through, but it also prepped my surface to take the paint first, to take the paint better. So you're going to see how that reacts with the paint. And then these, it's going to be interesting just to see how the same thing, how it reacts on the gessoed portion, non-gesso, and then on the dark and the white. So for this step, I'm going to go ahead and use the gel press plate just for the sake of time. This is a nice little bit of a speedy process. And the colors that I'm going to be using are going to be carnation, lemon, and lime. And I'm just going to pop down a little bit of this directly on my gel press plates. And sometimes you might want to rub it off on the side, or, you might want to have another plate available to you to do this step, something to rub off your brayer. I'm just going to work right on through it and lay out the color as I see fit here. And I'm going to put down a little bit more of that pink. And then I'm going to put some of this green down, just down here on the bottom. And we will go ahead and lay out our tags. All right. So we'll put our white one here, and we'll put our black one here. So as you can see, relatively going on the same spot. I'm just going to brayer over the back to make sure I have nice, good coverage. And then we'll do the same on the other one as well. So this is what it looks like on the white. And as you can see, that texture kind of pops through nicely. And the color is really pretty and muted because it's light, right? So let's see what it looks like with the black. So that is a little bit of a different look. As you can tell, it kind of stands up with that black. The color really pops. So this is just a background. I have something else I'm going to do. I'm going to stamp on it as well. So for this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lay out some color, and then I'm going to pop on my next one. All right, and then some green. And I'm just going to pull that through like so. No rhyme, no reason, right? Right. So let's see here. So I'm just going to take my tag, and remember, I didn't gesso over all of the top, and it kind of wants to slide around, and the color kind of gets lost, whereas on the gessoed portion you can definitely see the vibrancy of the color still. So I'm just going to lay this out in a couple different spots. And the back hasn't been gessoed, and I don't know if you can tell, but the color definitely is wanting to bubble up and smear. It's wanting to do some things that normal color would do on a slick surface. So this is the front, and you can still see that background, and you can definitely see the ridges and things from where I gessoed it. And I can tell, I don't know if you can, but where it's not gessoed, the color just isn't as vibrant, and you know, that's just, the gessoing just really, really helps prep your surface for that, for your paint. All right. All right, so with this one, I am going to lay down a little bit more. I think I want to do some more carnation on this. And so I'm just going to do some more color on it. And then on the bottom, I do like that green, so I'll pop a little bit more green on here too. And then we'll go on to the next step, which is super fun. We're going to stamp an image with paint. Okay, just a little subtle hint of green down there. So I'm going to pop this on like so. There we go. And just look at even the back. Look at what the back looks like with those colors, all right? And then, so that's with the white. And this one is with the black gesso. So you can definitely see where it was gessoed on the black. It definitely makes that color pop. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my gel press plate by literally laying a couple of pieces of copy paper down, and I'm going to prep it for the next step. I'm going to be doing some stamping on the tags that we gessoed, and for my stamp pad I'm actually going to use my gel press plates, and I just covered it in some blackberry acrylic paint. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just take my tag, this is the black gessoed one, pick up some of the paint on my gel press plate, like so. And then I am going to stamp it just directly on here. All right. And now I have that image, and we're going to play with that image a little bit. But before I do that, I want to, you know, go ahead and stamp all of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and brayer over that one more time. Take my light one, my white, pick up some of this paint, and this would be really, I might get an impression off of that too. You know, that'd be really cool. And then I'm going to just pop this down like so. Again, I'm wanting to do the same on both. All right, well, this one has more of her face on, but that's on the white gesso, that's on the dark. You can still see that black gesso popping through, but it takes really nice on the white too. Just a little bit of a different look. So from here, I'm going to take, and I actually want to go ahead on this one, and I think I'm just gonna do something a little bit different on this. I'm going to pop, I'm gonna actually press this because I just love that image right there. So I'm gonna press it over about at the bottom like so, and just pick it up. I like to use my brayer on the back. And now I have that really cool image on this page, on this tag, I should say. I'm gonna let this dry set up, and then we're gonna do some painting on these tags so you can definitely see the similarities and differences with the gessoed surfaces. This has had some time to dry, and so we're going to just go in and I'm going to paint the hair and paint in her lips so you can see how this reacts, the different colors lay or react with the black gesso and the white gesso. The paint that I'm using is Dina Wakley, the Media, and it is in Magenta, Tangerine, and Turquoise. So the first color I want to lay down is going to be the, I'm just going to do the lips in like the orange, the tangerine. And she's just going to be kind of funky. So I'm just going to do the lips on both of these cards. And again, this is laying down on the white and the black. So not much of a change right there. And then I'm just going to rub that off. And then I'm going to start to work into her hair some of this pretty Magenta. And what I like about working with our acrylic paint is that when it dries to a plastic. So I am going to successfully be able to go over this hair with some of that turquoise and give her like some fun blue type highlights. So I'm going to finish painting in this one, and then I will do the same over here. The first layer of pink is on. I don't know if you can tell a difference, but this pink definitely looks a little bit more vibrant, more drama. This one is a little bit softer. And that has to do with the white gesso versus the black gesso. So now from here, I'm going to go ahead and let this sit up a little bit. And then let me see if this one's dry. This one might be dry enough. I want to just add in some of this turquoise just in a couple different spots, and this is more just so you can perhaps see how the color lays on the white versus the black. This one needs to dry for a little bit, so I'm going to let that set up and then we will compare. These both have had time to dry, and as you can see, this one is with the black gesso, this one is with the white gesso. Which one do you like? Is there a preference that you like? Keep that in mind when you're trying to decide what gesso to use. And when in doubt, you can always just use clear. But I thought it would be kind of fun to make her really funky and color her skin yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull down some yellow onto her skin and just really make her funky, because when I did the gel pressing, the yellow kind of got lost, and you can see the pretty carnation and whatnot, but that yellow kind of got lost. So I thought it would be fun just to kind of add a little bit back in to her so you can see how that yellow plays on top of the paint and the gesso. And on the black, I can really see it. It's very, very vibrant over here. Like I can definitely see that color. So on the black, your lighter colors obviously are going to pop a lot more because, you know, it's black, it's contrasting, right? And whereas on the white, the lighter colors are kind of gonna blend in a little bit more because it's obviously on a lighter colored substrate. All right, so there we go. So this is definitely a difference. You can definitely see a difference in those two things. And then I'm going to play with some scribble sticks on these so you can see a black and white after the strips. All right, so this is what we have so far. Here we are with the black gessoed tag. And here we are with the white gesso tag. I can't even talk. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take scribble sticks and I'm going to add white throughout the hair, and then I'm going to do black around the edges of each of these tags. And so these babies you really got to push down on, but they're just pure pigment and they do react with water. But for this particular exercise, I'm not going to add water. I'm just going to put the white down throughout the hair. I just like how it softens that up a little bit. And then, I'm sorry, I'm left-handed, so I got to flip it. And then again, right here, and this is on the black gesso. Okay. So the white, even though there's paint on top of that black gesso, you can definitely see the white still more. It's more apparent than it is on the white gesso. So that black gesso really does, you know, in general, the gessos really pop through with your colors still. And same with this too, you know, if I put black down, which I'm going to, you're going to notice that that's really going to stand out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just go around the edges. And if you remember correctly, I did not gesso the tops of these. So this is going to be interesting just to see how this color lays on the non-gessoed spots. All right, it's going to be different. It already feels different as I glide my scribble stick around the edges. And I do think I'm going to take and wet my finger and just kind of smudge that out. I like to finish off a card or ink the edges, so to speak, and so this is just my way of inking the edges. So I'm just going to go through, and yeah, I think I'm going to add a little bit of water to my finger, and I'm just going to smudge that out. So that's over the non-gessoed spots, and then right there, that's when we start to hit that gesso, right there. All right, then I'm just gonna, I wanna rough it up a little bit. I kinda like how it looks when it's all roughed up. Okay, so this is the white gessoed. And then we'll go ahead and do it on the black gessoed. And again, I'm just taking my black scribble stick, which is a pigmented stick. There's no wax in it, so that's why you have to push relatively hard. Although I have to tell you, that on the gessoed spots, I really don't have to push as hard as I do on the non-gessoed spots. All right, so that's on the black, and I'm gonna go ahead and just rub this through. Let's get my finger a little bit wet. Work that out. Then go ahead like so. Hit it again. And there we go. So, can you see the difference? Now, I gotta tell you, I think I want to add just a little bit of some drops of some color. I went ahead and did rub out some more of the scribble sticks on the edges. They were just a little bit too harsh for my liking. And as I was cleaning up, I'm like, you know, I'm going to rub those out some more. So what I did was I got my finger wet and I just went in circles and rubbed that out. And I really like the look of it now. Still white gesso, black gesso. And I'm going to just take some of these glossy sprays. And instead of spraying over them, I'm actually going to, well, hopefully open them up. Well, maybe I am just going to spray. Guess I'm going to spray. So I'm going to just take my ocean all right, so that's the ocean. Then I'm going to take my lemon. And last, I'm going to end with my white. And what's so cool about these is this actually will dry into an acrylic type plastic finish as well. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to show you what this looks like at the end, and I'm going to show you the benefit of using the clear gesso in your Bible or on thin paper. These have now had time to dry, and I just want you to take a look at them. This is the white gessoed and this is the black gessoed. And you really cannot tell where the black gesso was on this tag any more than you can tell where the white gesso was on this tag, because we threw paint at it and gloss spray and scribble sticks. But you can definitely sense and see the difference in these tags based on the kind of gesso. The white gesso appears a little bit more vibrant, and the black is definitely more moody and dramatic. That's the difference, and it really does have a super important to what your piece ends up looking like. So if you're going for a beautiful, moody, dramatic type art piece, then go with a black gesso as your base. If you're going with something that's vibrant and maybe more sunny, then you'd want to go with a white gesso. So that's the difference. I hope that that helped you see, and I also hope you kind of learned the benefit of a gesso versus just going on and straight up painting, because, you know, not on all these, you know, the top and the bottom, I didn't have gesso, and the colors on the top and the bottom are not as apparent as they are on the gesso spots. All right, so I'm going to show you an example in my Bible. You guys have to forgive me in my artwork, okay? I'm still learning how to Bible art journal. But this is, yes, this is before I gessoed, before I learned how to gesso. And this is actually not even much paint. I believe I used a gelato on these, and I lightly went over. So there's not even much paint, but look at the back. Do you see how it all bled through? This is not a gessoed page. Then I go over here, and this has a bunch of wet medium on it. I gessoed this page, and look, you can't see anything through it. So I am a big advocate for clear gesso in your Bible. And if you have to pick just one, a clear, a black, or a white, and you're on a budget, I would go with the clear, because you can put a clear down on a white substrate or black substrate, and that underlining color will shine through. The only time that it can get you in trouble is, let's say you want to work on a yellow substrate or a blue substrate, and you don't want that blue undertone to pop through. Then you want to think about, do I want a white or a black? But overall, you're going to get the most bang for your buck and be able to use a gesso universally if it's clear. All right, you guys, I certainly hope that you enjoyed this video. I am going to post some pictures of the tags at the end so you can take a closer look. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Also, I do have provided for you links to where you can find gesso, as well as the paint that I used and the stamps that I used. That's going to be in the description box. You just have to go and hit that arrow, and I think it says like more, and you'll see it right there. All right, until next time, I'm Bets Golden. Happy crafting.